Class, we are going to start section 3.9 on percents. And um, really, this is a review probably of topics that you've covered earlier in your math career, probably in middle school math. And I'm not sure of the different methods that you've been taught, but I am going to teach you a method that I learned when I was in middle school. And it is a method that has never let me down. And so I'm going to pass on the same method to you that my teacher passed on to me. And I think you will find that it works very nicely. So I'm going to be teaching you this, and this is sort of going to depart from the way the book is teaching you this topic because I think my way is better. But we are going to do the examples that are in the book. All right, so first of all, I want you to take a look here at this box that I just put up here, and I think it would be a good idea for you to copy this in your notes. And in fact, I may just give you a link in Canvas so that you can download this. I'm calling this my English to Math translation key. This is for percents. Basically, what you're going to be doing, and if you remember, in an earlier section, you learned about how to translate English into math. Well, with these percent problems, you're going to be doing the same thing. You're going to be translating English into math, and then and creating equations that you're going to solve. This is the key that I want you to use. Now, if you hear any of these phrases here along these lines of, what amount, how many, what number, how much, what amount. Oh, I got what amount more than once. What distance. Any word that's looking for some sort of quantity that's specifically not asking about the percentage. It's just asking about a quantity. I want you to translate that as X. Okay? So any of these words, and I can't cover all of them here, but if there's something that's asking for a quantity of some kind, I want you to use the variable X. Now, if the question is asking about what percent, then you can translate that as, and think about what percent means. What does that mean? Per cent, right? Percent means, what does cent mean? It's like a century, right? It's per 100. So this technically means the same thing as if I use the variable p, it means that number out of 100, right? So when you hear the word what percent, I want you to translate that either as p divided by 100 or just to make your arithmetic easier, remember what 1 over 100 is decimal wise. That's 0.01, right? So I want you to translate that as 0.010, okay? So if you hear what percent, we're going to go with this, okay? You could use p over 100, then you'd have to do a little fraction math, but so I think it's easier to use the decimal. All right, now, if you hear the word is, what do you think the word is in math? Well, if you guessed or came up with the idea of equal, you'd be correct. So if you hear the word is, you're going to be putting an equal sign in that place. All right, and then lastly, if you hear the word of, that is the key to the mathematical operation of multiply. So if you hear the word, like if you heard the word, what is half of 4? You're really multiplying, okay? Half of 4, you can cross simplify here, is 2. Okay, so when you hear the word of in math, we're talking about multiply. All right, I'm going to leave this little table up here, and I'm going to pull in the first example for you to do. And so what we're going to do is we're going to be attentive to the various words that are in the sentence, and we're going to use this table to translate it into math that we can solve, into a mathematical equation that we can solve. All right, so this is example 1. It says, what is 30%? What is 30% of 70 feet? Okay, All right, so what is the word what going to translate as in this equation, in this sentence, this English sentence that we're going to turn into an equation? Well, it looks like it would be x, right? So so this is translating as x. What about the word is? What does that translate to? Equals, right? So we're going to say equals. 30%. Oh, yes, I need to go over this with you. I didn't mention this. When you're using a percentage in the equation, I want you to go ahead and convert the percentage to a decimal. And so 30%, remember that's the same thing as 30 per 100. What is that in decimal form? Well, that's 0.3. All right, so we're going to use, just to make our math easier, we're going to convert percentages to decimal. So 30% converts to 0.3. What does the word of mean again? Multiply, right? And then we're going to have 70 feet. Okay, and you need to pay attention to what you're going to be solving for. We're looking for number of feet now, right? So saying what is 30% of 70 feet? Now all you have to do is get your calculator out and tally this up. Okay, so all we're doing is we're multiplying 0.3 times 70. And we're going to get x equals 21. And then we're going to say that's feet. Okay, so if you can put in the unit of measure, please do so. All right, so what this is saying, 30% is, is close to 1/3, right? So this is saying 21 feet, is about 30% of 70 feet, and that seems to make sense. So at the end of each problem, you should just kind of read back your answer and see whether or not it makes sense to you. All right, so let's clear this up. Okay, yeah. All right, I'll just have to do this. And I'll pull my table back out, just keep it handy. Okay, here it is. I'll make it a little bit bigger. All right, so let's go on to the next example. Example 2 says $14 is 25% of what amount of money? Okay, well, let's start with the $14. We're going to say $14. Of course, that's going to translate to 14. I can put my dollar symbol here. $14. Now the word is. What does is translate to in English? In math, it will translate to equals, right? 25%. Okay, so I want to change 25% to a decimal. What is that as a decimal? That's the same thing as saying 25 over 100, right? Which is the same thing as saying 0.25. So we're going to say 0.25. All right, now it's saying of. Okay, all right, so that means I'm multiplying what amount of money? All right, what is that going to translate to? I'm looking for a quantity, so that means I'm going to use x. Okay, so here's x. All right, so here's my equation now. It's 14 equals 0.25x. All right, so how do I solve for x now? Well, I got 0.25 being multiplied to x, so I need to use inverse operations. So I'm going to divide both sides by 0.25. I know this is going to become 1. Okay, so x is going to equal this 14 divided by 0.25. All right, so what does that turn out to be? All right, so get your calculator out and calculate that. So 14 divided by 0.25 equals 56. That's what I'm getting right now. So, and what was it that we were solving for? We're solving for money. So we're saying that $14 is 25% of $56. Well, 25% is about a quarter, and that makes sense, doesn't it? $14 is about a quarter of $56. But basically, I don't have to think all that hard. I just need to use my handy dandy key here, translate the English into math, and then use algebra and those inverse operations to isolate the variable and solve for whatever it is I'm looking for. All right, so let's clear this board one more time. Pull the chart back out. And here, let me make it just a little bit bigger. All right, now let's look at the next example. All right, example 3. It says 135 is what percent of 27? Okay, so now it looks like I'm going to be solving for a percentage. All right, so I'm going to still do the translation the same way that I've been doing it. But now when I see what percent, what am I going to replace that with? Well, I'm going to replace it with this, 0.01p. All right, so let's start right here, 135. Okay, well, in English to math, that's going to look like that. Now about the word is, what does that translate as? Well, that's equal, right? What percent? Now I'm going to use this instead of x because I'm actually solving for a percentage. And using the variable p helps me realize in the end that I'm solving for a percentage, so I remember to put my little percent symbol out. Okay, now I've got the word of again. What does that mean? Multiply, right? So I'm going to take this 0.01p and I'm going to multiply it to 27. Okay? All right, so first thing, let's simplify the right side a little bit. I want to multiply this coefficient here to 27. So what is 0.01 times 27? Okay, so it's going to be 0.27. All right, so this becomes 0.27, and I'm going to have my variable here, 0.27p. Now I'm going to solve for percentage. So I'm going to divide both sides by 0.27, 0.27. This goes out, and I have percentage equals 135 divided by 0.27, and 135 divided by 0.27 equals 500. All right, now remember, I'm solving for a percentage, and so when I see that p here, I'm reminded that my answer needs the little percent symbol. So I'm going to put that on there. So now, in other words, they're saying 135 is what percent of 27? Well, 135 is a much bigger number than 27, right? So that, and in fact, it's about 5 times as much. And so that's why I'm getting a 500%. So because 135 is 500% larger than the number 27, okay? All right, so let's keep going here. Let me clear this. All right, we'll bring this back out. And then we're moving on to, let's see what this is. Okay, actually we're going to do the checkpoint now. So what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to pause the video now and work on 1 through 4 of the checkpoint that's on the bottom of page 184. And then when you're ready, I want you to come back here, you press play again, and we will go over those answers and see what you got. All right, so, okay, I'm going to start working on these problems now. I'm making the big assumption that you have finished and you're pressing play again after you've completed 1 through 4. All right, so let's translate this. It says, what is 15% of 100 meters? All right, so what is the word what going to translate to in math? Well, it's going to translate into x, so that's x. The word is, what's that going to translate into? Equals. 15%, we want 15 over 100, in other words, that's 0.15. I want that in decimal form to make my arithmetic easier. So that's 0.15. Word of, multiply 100 meters. And I know my answer is going to be in meters because I'm looking for what 15% of 100 meters is. All right, so now I'm just going to do the math on this, and you're going to get 100, right, times 0.15, and that's 15. 15% of 100, that makes sense. 15 meters, okay? And so make sure you write your unit in there. Okay, now let's see if this, right, let me clear. All right, right, next number of the checkpoint, number 2. Says 12 is 60% of what number? All right, let's translate this. 12, okay, the word is equal. 60% in decimal form is going to be 0.6, right? So it'll be 60 over 100, which is the same thing as 0.6. So I get 0.6. The word of, again, means I'm multiplying what number? What number is going to translate into x? Okay, so now I'm just solving this. 12 equals 0.6x. I'm going to divide each side by 0.6. Okay, and then x is going to equal 12 divided by 0.6. And, is that right? 12 divided by 0.6. Okay, yes, that's 20. All right, so this is telling me that 60% of the number 20 is going to give me 12, and that makes sense. Okay, all right. Let's look at number 3 of the checkpoint. All right, it says 8 is what percent of 20? Okay, let's do the translation. 8. Okay, I don't have to do anything with that. 8 is there. Is, that's going to be equal. What percent is going to translate into what? 0.01p. Then it says of 20. That means I'm multiplying these guys. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply this 0.01 times 20, and I'm going to get 0.2p. All right, now I'm going to isolate the p by dividing each side by 0.2. Okay, that becomes 1, so p is going to equal 8 divided by 0.2. And I'm going to get p equals 40. And now this is my tip-off. I have solved for a percentage, right? So I need to write the percentage symbol because I've solved for a percent. So in other words, 8 is 40% of 20. So if I took 40% of 20, I'd end up with 8, which is true. If I take 0.4 and multiply it by 20, I'm going to end up with 8. All right, so all right, let's do the last one here. Last checkpoint. All right, and oops, 20 is okay. Oh nope, that is new. That is different. These numbers are all starting to look alike to me. All right, so let's translate it. 20, okay, that's easy, is, okay, equal. Now we're going to do what percent of 8? So that's 0.01p of 8 times 8. All right, so now I'm going to multiply the 0.01 times 8, and I'm going to get 20 equals 0.8p. I'm going to divide each side by 0.8. Is that right? Now, wait a minute. Hold the phone. I might be off a decimal place here. I might need to be 0.08 here times 1. Yes, I'm off. I need a 0 here. Okay, so it's 0.08. Okay. All right, and now I need 0.0 right there. Okay, but 0.8 there. All right, so this simplifies into 1, becomes 1p, and then I'm going to take 20 and I'm going to divide it by 0.08, and I get p equals 250. I got to remember I got to put the percentage symbol on there. In other words, 20 is 250% of 8. In other words, it's like 2.5 times more, okay, than 8. All right, so I hope this all makes sense. It's pretty easy. I was going to say I can remember this now. It's, I can produce this chart in my head and use it in any sort of capacity to do any type of percentage problem. It is very useful. Okay, all right, now let's do the last bit. We're going to do a word problem here. And I think you probably are familiar with this, especially if you've gone shopping and you've shopped during a sale. You know that sometimes you can get a certain percentage off when you're shopping. Like, so if you're over at Kohl's, I know Kohl's likes to have lots of sales and stuff like that, and sometimes you can get 30% off. You get one of those coupons. That means their prices, if you have if you're buying $100 worth of something and you get a 30% off, means I'm going to be able to take $30 off of $100. It's kind of a nice sale. Sometimes they have 20 and sometimes they have 15%. So shopping for sales is fun. I think sometimes stores sort of set it up to make you think you're shopping a sale. They'll just raise the prices so that they can pretend to have a sale. But anyway, I think that if you've ever done any shopping, I think you probably understand how this works. But I just want to go over this with you again and just kind of make sure. All right, so a discount. So let's look at the definition here. A discount says when an item is on sale, the difference between the regular price and the sales price is called a discount. Okay, so here is that description right here. Discount equals the regular price minus the sale price. Now, you can also figure out the discount by taking the percentage of the discount and multiplying it by the regular price. So, for instance, I was saying, well, if I got a 30% sale, right, and I bought $100 worth of stuff, right, what's the discount I'm going to get? Well, the discount's going to be the percentage, and of course, we're going to multiply that as a decimal. So the discount would be equal to, this is a decimal, it's 0.3 times the regular price, 100, right? And I'm going to end up with $30. That's telling me what my discount is. So I can take that $30 off of the 100, and what would I pay? And I ultimately would pay $70. But this is the discount of the money, and then the 30% turns out to be the discount percentage. All right, so the discount equals, if I take the percentage here, it's going to be 0.01p times the regular price. Okay, so let's read this example. Okay, it says, we're shopping for a portable CD player. Yes, once again, this dates the textbook because we don't have that now. You find one that has a regular price of $90. Okay, so that's our regular price. The store is selling the CD player at a price of $72. What is the discount percent? Well, let's get the discount amount first. We can look at that right here. So the discount is going to equal the regular price, right? Regular price minus the sale price. All right, so what was that? Well, the regular price they said was $90. The sale price was $72, right? And so what's the discount then? The discount's going to be $18. So we got $18 off. Okay, that's pretty good. Then the question is, well, what was that discount percentage? Well, now you can go and look at this other equation. And you can say, well, I know the discount in terms of money was $18. Okay, so that's $18. That's equal to my discount percent, which I'm trying to solve for. So we're going to put that 0.01p in there, 0.01p, and we're going to multiply it times the regular price. What was the regular price of this guy? It was $90. So we're going to say times $90. And we're going to solve for our discount percentage, okay? So what is 8? So 18, I'm going to multiply 0.01 times 90. That's going to give me a 0.9p. And I'm going to divide each side by 0.9 because I'm solving for the percentage. So percentage is going to equal it's going to equal, I'm looking at the wrong thing here. Oh, it's okay. Yes, it's going to equal 20%. I'm like looking at the checkpoint. Okay. All right, so yeah, so my percentage is 20%. So in other words, if you took the $90 and you multiply it by 20%, you're going to get that $18. So they took 20% off of the price. All right, now let's do the checkpoint. So at this point, I'd like you to pause the video, and I'd like you to work out the checkpoint number 5. And then when you're ready, press play, and we'll come back and we'll work through the checkpoint so that you can see it. So here's the checkpoint. All right, so if you are back now, I'm assuming that you have worked through this problem and now have your answers. Okay, so checkpoint 5 says, a radio has a regular price of $80. You receive a 10% discount when you purchase it. Find the amount of the discount. So in this case, we're going to want to use this formula, right, to find out the amount of the discount. All right, because we know the percentage now. So the discount equals the percentage now, and that's really going to be what? 0.01p. Oh, wait a minute. Hold on. They told us what the discount. Never mind. We know what the percentage is. Never mind. We're not solving for percentage. So they said it is 10%. So 10% in decimal is what? 0.1. And then we're going to say times the regular price. And they said that regular price was $80. So I'm basically figuring out my discount is 0.1, all right, 10% of times 80. And what is that going to be? $8, right? So then the question is, well, what is the sale price going to be now? Well, so I can go back to this formula now, and I can say the discount is $8. That's got to equal the regular price, which I know is $80, minus my sale price, right? So 80 minus S has got to equal 8. I mean, and I could do algebra if I wanted to and, solve for this, and I'm going to end up with negative 72 equals negative S. And of course, I'm going to multiply both sides by -1 so I can get positive S. That's my sales price equals positive 72. So this is telling me that my sales price after I pay my discount is going to be $72. Anyway, I hope that is all clear, and that that you too will find that this method right here, using percents, to be very useful. And you should probably have this little key in your notes, and I will put a link on Canvas so that you can print it off and use it while you're doing your homework, or you can pull it up and use it while you're doing your homework. All right, that is it. Thank you.